This is Jiu Jitsu Robot, episode 6. So you were telling me that you had an MMA match with a local fighter. Could you tell me about this fighter and what happened with the match?
He was a fighter and a good one, very good. And possibly at the time I was delusional, or I believed I was better than I was for 100% fact. But, maybe I would have done okay. I don't know. I would have done it. That was the main thing. And I tried. We tried to get the fight, but I guess it wasn't in the cards. I attempted that night at the event to, in a way, type of intimidation approach, which is fairly absurd for a guy my height and size. And my attitude is not super aggressive at all. To kind of try to push your way into a person's bubble and tell them basically, hey, I would like to fight you. It's ridiculous. But that's what I did, kind of. And he responded in some way that along the lines of, yeah, that we might do that. We might see about making a fight happen. He responded as a professional, like a respectfully and properly. And that was the end of it at the event. So then I messaged him, kind of trying to goad it on, and heard nothing for maybe a month. It was like a while, and kind of gave up on the deal. Then a few months later, if memory serves, I think I probably still have the messages. He messaged me and said, hey, let's see about making the fight happen. He probably asked, like, is this a crazy person, or does that person actually in there? And found out, oh, okay, well, maybe people would like that. And it long story short, it never happened. That event went under at some point, or maybe it changed to another name or something along the lines. But the the two times that I was to fight in the event, they canceled for some reason or another. And that's rare these days for an event to cancel. Not so rare for the fighters, but it didn't happen, and that was the only place that fight was going to happen. And there's a whole backstory to that also. But
so you had two bouts that were canceled.
Yeah, two bouts. One, I wish more of the same talk, more of the same. But the other one also I wish wouldn't have been canceled, because this guy told me he was a blue belt under Hoist. And at that time, I don't know why, that I was like, oh, really? Oh, okay. I mean, believing like, okay, then we're kind of similar skill level. And that's absurd. He was not a blue belt under Hoist. This particular guy was like a local person and not particularly well off at the time. Fighters weren't making money. They were just kind of fighting for the honor, or just a fight or whatever. And this is the type of guy that it was. But that statement that I'm a blue belt under Hoist, man, I wish I would have got the chance to prove that either wasn't true, or have him to tell everybody, no, I'm not actually. Because he was telling everybody that too. So I don't know anything about him or what happened.
I mean, he wasn't like the same lineage at all. Like, wasn't like maybe trained under somebody who got their black belt from Hoist.
No. This guy didn't, and I'm continuing to be disrespectful, but I don't mean to. Although, I mean, that's an egregious lie to say I have this accomplishment that I don't. That is built on deeds of blood, right?
Yep.
You don't have it, and you don't have any right to claim that you do. So
Can't bullshit. Can't bullshit about that.
no, and he did, and no, he had no experiences, as far as I can tell. After researching as much as I could over the years, and I lost track of the guy around 2014 or 15. I think he might have had some kind of drug overdose or something along these lines.
Oh
But
shit.
I know, I know. I'll tell you his name off air because I don't know if that's the case or not, but I believe that it is from the stuff that I saw. But he had no experience whatsoever in jiu-jitsu, none at all, and had lost a few fights from stuff like standing guillotines that were even improperly, you know, latched on. He didn't defend the techniques at all.
Oh, so it's obvious.
Oh yeah, I mean, standing guillotines is like a headlock. It's a technique for sure, but that's one of the first things that we deal with, And Hoist would have definitely addressed that. And Hoist did. Wait, I mean, ah, that's just the whole thing. And if he's passed away, then I don't want to re-dig that back up. But that it stinks that people do that. And we've talked about this before. That that kind of stolen valor esque thing, it exists for some reason. Maybe because jujitsu is so good that people want to claim a piece of it to say like, I'm good too. And the
Without
jujitsu
doing
is
the
good.
work.
Right, right. The jujitsu is good. So they want you to look at them and say like, oh man, he must be an awesome fighter when you have nothing. You've done nothing. Haven't been under anybody heavy, amongst other things.
I don't think you can get away with that these days.
Man, it's more difficult for sure.
Like you've asked me to check out a gym because they seemed a little fishy, and
Yeah,
and I'm sure you have checked out gyms that seem a little fishy.
many, many times. And I'm still doing it to this day and ready to respond with words if it's not legit. I would
I
never
I had
the
a
belt.
different plan. I had a different plan. I want if I see somebody with a fake belt, I'm gonna take it off them.
Well, if they're wearing fake belts and they're claiming, like, I got my belt from, like, same thing. I got my belt from Hoist, and we for sure 100% know that's not true, then yeah, definitely we will take the belt off of you. Because what are you going to do?
Can't do
You
anything. I
don't,
mean,
right?
it sounds like this guy is like a striker, right? He's a brawler.
Yeah, he was super tall too. That guy. He was like 6'3" and very, very skinny.
Oh, okay. Was he in the same weight class as you?
Yeah, he was at the time. It was like
Okay.
130, and he was there. So that's, I mean, put that together: 130, 6'3",
That's
like
nuts.
that Indian body, like kind of like Anderson Silva type. Well, Anderson's got muscles, and this guy was very super long armed, kind of like an alien.
Sounds like he's is definitely on drugs though.
Yeah, I think he was at the time too. But we had some weird deal that we were like responding to. We had decided like let's try to stir up some public drama to get interest into the fight, and we started going back and forth a little bit. And really, people were just like, "Hey, y'all need to chill out. You need to cut it out." And it totally wasn't. It wasn't like, "Oh yeah, let's," not at all what we intended for it to be. And they canceled the fight anyway. So regardless, that I think that fight would have been because I was an actual blue belt at that time, and that guy was not. So I think it would have been pretty straightforward match that would have went my way. And the reach would have been something to, to deal with. But once on the inside, it would have been a moot point. The other guy was much, much smaller, my height, and in very good shape. And that would have been definitely a challenging fight. Did I send you videos of the guy?
Yeah, no, you did. You did. I got to check out like highlights and stuff too.
He was aggressive and like skilled, and that would have been a good fight. And I don't know how that would have went, but I would have been especially at that time, I wanted to see how that technique would hold up with modern MMA. And, I believed, but you have to kind of be proven effective to yourself. And I was trying to go about this at that time to see, am I effective? Is Jiu Jitsu effective? Was Hoist? Or is it just, what is the deal? And I was trying to find that out at that time.
So
Of course.
the fights got canceled.
Mm-hmm.
Were you able to discover this, or were you able to get another fight, or did get a challenge match or anything like that in this time frame?
No. After that, I texted, I believe, or this might be on my Facebook. I believe that it is somewhere throughout the history that the guy that the dude showed up to challenge, like the challenge match that I had, the guy that he showed up to challenge, you want to be the best, you got to beat the best. He's talking about the best, that guy. He's the one that messaged me and said these fights are canceled and this is why. And it had happened the previous show that I wasn't in, but some of the guys that trained at Gracie Barra were in, and they were canceled. Then this one was canceled, and it just become like a thing. This was happening again and again. So I really gave up on that. It stinks, but I gave up on that show, and I was like, if I'm not gonna fight in that one, I really don't want to fight. I was already in my brain. I'm like, I'm already getting old. I'm I'm out of shape, like in good shape, out of shape, not eating that great. And of course, in retrospect, I'm decently young, in great shape, eating really good compared to today. So I should have just kept, kept going. And even if MMA is it's not a real fight, it's a sportive event. It's still fun to do it, and it's fun to roll. They're all just games, but doesn't mean that you can't play them. You just can't believe that they're a real fight and that you would do the same thing and it's all the same. That's this whole ball of wax, what it boils down to, is that they're all different. It's okay to play them all, but it's not okay to tell people and to teach people they're all the same and to do the same thing in all three. That's definitely a strategy to get a smaller person hurt by a bigger person. So
Yeah, because people do all kinds of things in a street fight. They'll grab your clothes, they'll go for a headbutt, they might eye gouge. But speaking of MMA, I sent you the video of the black belt fighting the MMA fighter.
So let me, okay, let's hit on that first. So that's a strange deal, right? I don't even know where to start. This gentleman asked to be on the podcast. I tried to get him on, and we'll get into who and the particulars in a second here. But this gentleman asked to be on the podcast, agreed to have him on, and then no response for what, like, I mean, a long time, like 12 hours. So we were going to have him on tonight, but didn't hear anything back. So we had no choice but to use our own, come up with our own conclusions based on what we saw and heard. Now, this is a street beefs, what do you call it? Just a fight? I mean, a street beefs MMA fight?
MMA match.
Street beefs MMA match between a Jiu Jitsu black belt, which we doubted originally for sure because of the statements. But at the end of the video, his legitimate professor is there vouching for him. So he's indeed a black belt under a proper lineage. And which makes it all the stranger that in the video he said, what were his exact words? Do you know?
You know what? I'm just gonna pull it up real quick. I want to get the right quote, and then we can edit this. But
Yeah. And we really wanted to have him on here to be able to answer. He wanted to be on, and we wanted to have him on to ask these questions, like what were you? I mean, it really sounds accusatory, but what were you thinking? It's a fair question.
well, I mean, if I'm going to be in an MMA match, I want to represent jiu-jitsu in the best way possible. I don't want to. I don't know. I wouldn't. I wouldn't want to let, of course, you down. It just seemed like he resigned himself to, like, hey, there's no way I'm gonna be able to take this guy down. So what was his game plan? Like, get a
Right.
lucky punch and then jump on top of him?
That's the thing, is that we, even you and I, feel the pressure, no matter what anybody, including, I mean, not to say to doubt anything that any of the members of the family say, but when they say, I didn't feel any pressure, I I, I don't know, man. I feel pressure myself to represent properly. And can you imagine if you were like a son or nephew or grandson, what the pressure you would feel would be? It would be incredible to fight a certain way and to a certain standard. And to this gentleman is not in the family, and further down, I guess the lineage, and not in our lineage. He's not Elio Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, but definitely a fighting brand of Jiu-Jitsu. And he chose to keep it standing and fight a boxing match, pretty much.
Well, what is his coaches telling him? Like, because whenever you tell me to do a game plan, like in a tournament, like I do the game plan. Like,
Yeah, to a T, to a
yep.
T.
So what is his
And
coach telling him?
well, just to stay on that for just a split second, you in the first, I believe it was the first one, right? The first tournament sport jiu-jitsu that you did, are pretty much our big plan was going to be to deal with the stand-up a certain way, and then when the fight ends up on the ground, to use this collar choke, right?
Right.
And then you ended up using this collar choke and put the dude to sleep.
Yep. That's how it worked out. We had the strategy going in on what to kind of bait somebody into a takedown
That's right.
with counters, either it be a guillotine or collar choke, and that's what ended up happening.
A big reason is that dang collar choke is not respected the way that it should be, and I don't know why that is.
Well,
I
it
guess
still isn't.
it still isn't. If you hadn't felt it, like the guy that ran one of the schools that we worked at, you and I, outright doubted the thing, and at the time was either a brown or a black belt, right?
He did modify it though. He was, I want to believe, either, I don't know, I think it was a brown belt. Either he was purple or brown, but he said it didn't work. And then when I showed him video proof that it did work, he's like, okay, well, it only works on white belts.
I mean, this is the truth, and he has no choice but to agree with it, because this happened, because he told me it didn't work, and I asked him to put his gi on and choked him, and do you remember that? You weren't there?
See, I don't know if this was before or after. I do not believe I was there for this time.
This was I think he came over to our gym one day. I think, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this was before you started, or I don't remember the time frame.
I
But
think
I
this was
do.
after. Wasn't this after?
It could be. It
If
could
this
be.
was Forney, then it was after because I want to say I was at. Rockwall
It could be.
during the tournament. Yeah, but
Either
regardless,
way,
it works.
yeah. Either way, he put the gi on, and I choked him. And if he can call in and be a guest on it on the show, and he'll have a lot of things to say, but that's not one that didn't happen. His face was purple. He was about to go to sleep, and afterwards he said, okay, I respect the collar choke now. So if the person doesn't know how to do it properly, maybe they don't respect it, and that's why. You just need somebody that knows what they're doing to grab you right, and you'll respect anything. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So, you got the thing pulled up with the guy
Yeah, you
saying?
want to hear the clip?
Yeah, let's see.
His stand-up was good, and he looks like a wrestler, so I wasn't even trying to go for a takedown.
That's the video where Mighty Mouse is commentating on it. But yeah, he looks like a wrestler, so I wasn't even trying to go for the takedown.
Man, what in the world does that even mean? Looks like a wrestler. The first part even is a problem because looks like a wrestler doesn't make sense. The guy looks like a strong guy. He he was throwing hard punches, but I don't know what a wrestler necessarily looks like. They look like they're in shape. I don't know what that means, but
It's
even
not the
if
truth.
no,
He's trying to sell maybe himself on a lie. He was like, "Hey, I knew I wasn't gonna be able to take him down." Like you told me years ago, if you believe it'll work, it will work.
that's called conviction. Yes,
So maybe I don't hit a takedown when I'm going against these really good guys I've been training with, but I believe like it's gonna work, and sometimes I hit it, but I have to believe that it can work, or definitely will not work.
absolutely. If oh man, it's so much to even get into, but if your conviction that you're gonna take the person down is greater than their conviction that they're going to prevent the takedown, you will get them down. It might take some time, but the reason is because you're not going to give up. You're just going to keep going and going and going and going, and you will eventually. We'll end up falling. He'll end up taking us down. We'll end up something. We're going to end up on the ground. But if we never try, we'll never go to the ground. If he's blasting away with punches, what's why go to the ground? He's beating him up. It's just a far-fetched game plan for a jiu-jitsu person to stand and trade punches. What do you say about that?
I wish he was on because I want to ask him like, hey, were you gonna tire him out and then go for a takedown late? Like, I don't believe that it was never the goal to get a takedown. I think he was. I think. I mean, right after the fight, in the heat of the moment, he just said some stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I had a chance to kind of go back and forth with him a little bit. Um, did I tell you about that?
I just saw what you had sent me.
So yeah. So I asked him, wouldn't Ronaldo recommend exactly what we would, which is basically bite your teeth and freaking get in the clinch, do what
Mm-hmm.
you have, make your turtle shell, and get in the clinch. What's the worst thing that's going to happen? You're already getting your face whacked in. So I asked him, wouldn't he say to do that? And he says, yes, he would say that. And that is the best, the safest game plan for us. But he said, I'm getting a little bit older, and I just wanted to try MMA, and maybe it wasn't the best idea. And he basically was like, I did my best. But to that, I would say very, very, respect getting in there and fighting,
Yeah.
and doing MMA at 43, because that's what they said in the video, 43. But at no time was jiu-jitsu attempted in any way. And no matter your age, no matter what, I can't remove jiu-jitsu from me. So for me personally, to stand in a fight of any kind and trade punches is a non-possibility. It would never happen, ever. Perhaps standing P-zone, just to get the thing fired up, just to get it going, maybe to get
Yeah.
them to close. But goodness, trading punches is nobody's ever taught us, me, you, anybody, to
No.
punches. It's insane.
Yeah, it's definitely not in the jiu-jitsu playbook.
It's not. So I wish we had him on to be able to discuss that. But
Well, I originally sent you the video because I thought, hey, the MMA guy would be a good opponent for you, or possibly the black belt. I would figure we would call out the victor, but I'm 100% sure you could take that guy down, both guys down.
yeah, for sure. And I didn't even watch. I mean, I watched the fight, but as far as watching technical ability, I didn't even look for technical ability because it ended up being a boxing match. So yeah, I believe that if you introduce the jiu-jitsu that either of us have into the mix, the fight becomes much more difficult for anybody, So it wouldn't be a standing rock'em sock'em robot type of deal for sure. And if I don't know, there's what could you say? Until you do it, you never know what would happen. So but that's a heck of a thing, man.
So when are we going to sign you up for street beefs?
Well, I don't know that street beefs is my cup of tea. I'd like we need to create an event that gets back into the reality of fighting.
So
Which
like
is,
unlimited time,
yeah,
no rules.
yes. That the lack of rules is almost a rule in itself, because it really creates a certain kind of caution amongst people when you know that any little thing is going to result in a cut. So it just that's yeah, we kind of have a savory flavor, a taste in the mouth for that kind of fighting. But it doesn't exist anymore, and what a shame, man, what a shame. So we need to create something like that. If anybody is listening at this point, once we upload this video, that can help with that, we are certainly interested. This is not dependent upon age either. Of course, being younger helps, but the survival mindset is the same no matter how old you are. We're going to survive, and I don't have to explain it to you, but for the people, man, the sport jiu-jitsu folks out there are so misled, led astray, that some of the things that are like the most important are outright claimed to be like, this is something that you should not do. One being, be loyal to your academy and to your instructor. Did you see that video?
Yeah, I just got to watch. Like I guess right where it went to that part. Like, oh no, actually, I got to watch the first two sections, and then he started talking about something about upper belts, not asking upper belts to roll.
Yeah. There's a lot of I mean, some of the stuff in that video is like, don't stink, cut your nails. Yeah, of course, we're all in. But why in the world would you tell somebody not to be loyal to your instructor, to your academy? And this is something that we were talking about with the professor the other day. That is it just transactional? Is that you pay me and you get a service, and when you're tired or when you don't like it or when you're whatever, you're done. Fair enough. But don't come back. You know what I mean? Don't ever try to come back. If you leave, then you're done, because we have a different opinion than that. It really does matter. We're we're bringing you in on the freaking middle of the circle. We're as close as we can be at this point to the source. And if we were to say it doesn't matter, you can just, and the guy literally said creonte, right? Creonci is the word, and it's a thing. Carlson said that because it's a thing. You are a traitor if you leave the wrong way. And man, oh man, telling people to disregard that in our world, there's going to be problems from that, especially if you're up the ladder and you throw this kind of disrespect toward your academy or toward your professor. Just not a good thing to tell people to do.
And if it gets to a point where you have to leave, you're going to pretty much leave for good. Like, you're not going to go back and expect to be welcomed back in open arms. But in our case, it was basically a dispute on coaching styles. And before we parted ways, you had mentioned that there was a complaint made to the owner of the gym we were at.
A parent had, I guess, called him or something and said they wanted their kid to wear the MMA gloves and they wanted them to be doing MMA in the MMA classes. And I told him, I don't care about MMA rules, anything to do with that. If I'm going to teach the kids to do this over and over and over, then I'm going to teach them to do the right thing, no matter what the rules are. I'm going to teach them to protect their face, no matter what the rules are. I'm going to teach them to close the distance the only ways that I know how, no matter what. And I can't imagine that being a bad thing. If I had the chance to talk to that parent, then I think they would have agreed with me. I know it for a fact, actually. If I could show them, right? If we could show them what our difference of opinion is, they would agree.
Who do you think it was? I think it was Alan.
I don't know. I have no clue, because every parent seemed happy. It had to be one of the new people that signed their kid up for MMA, and they were like, "Hey, I want to see MMA. I want to see them doing MMA." But
Have they seen UFC 1?
right. So they just had a misunderstanding, really, and they were being led to that misunderstanding by a misinformed person. So,
But how are you going to dictate like that? That's like me coming in and like critiquing everybody. Like for Noah, I didn't ask anybody to like change up the classes to suit my kid.
that's right. Were you when that dad, he had like two twin sons? He came onto the mat and was telling like me and some of the other instructors that we needed to be teaching a different way. Were you there?
I think I remember the dad and the twin sons.
Do you
It
remember
sounds
the episode?
familiar. I don't remember what he was. I don't think I remember this scenario though. What was the move? What was his? What way did he think it should be taught?
Well, I think I never got, none of us got into like even into it a little bit, because everybody, of course, we're all jiu-jitsu people, and this guy is a big guy coming onto the mat, kind of wanting to, it's intimidation approach. He's coming out there to try that with us, which is ridiculous.
So you immediately shot in?
Well, no, it
I'm
not
kidding.
any care about what he said, and everybody kind of just took turns saying, respectfully, you don't know what you're talking about. If you knew what you were talking about, you would be out here teaching, but you're not. You're a parent. You need to sit over there with the parents and let us do our jobs. If things are not going the way that you want them to, you can take the kids out. And if the kids don't want to be here, you can take them out. Otherwise, you need to have a seat and let us get back to work. And everybody just took turns kind of repeating this similar thing. And the guy basically just kind of gave up and went and sat down.
So this was
So
at Forney.
no, it was at Rockwall.
Oh, so this is before my time then.
It could have very well.
Yeah, I'm thinking of somebody else.
Well, this dad was probably about your size. He was a big old football looking, big old guy.
Mm-hmm.
And he probably for sure thought he was just going to come out there and tell us, you'll need to, I want to see them, probably something similar. I want to see them, crushing people. I want to see them doing this and that. And I don't even want to hear, I don't want any recommendations. I mean, that could be taken disrespectfully too. But you're bringing your kids to us for a reason. If you believe in us, or then let us do what you brought them there for. And if you don't, then take them out. But don't come out there and start telling us what to do, or saying we need to do something different, because that's just not going to get, we're not going to go anywhere good with that. So and it didn't. That stopped and it ended, and I never heard anything else from that guy because it failed. If
Did he pull his kids out?
No, they stayed in, and I believe that he had a daughter and he added her to the classes as well. Maybe he respected the fact that nobody, gave a shit really what he said, like that. How everybody, man, I don't want that to be taken the wrong way, because I care what parents say, but the guy went about it completely wrong. We were on the mat teaching, and the guy entered the mat while class was going on. And boy, oh boy, that's a big no-no. Oh, because I'm kind of getting kind of aggravated thinking about it.
No,
Because
just you telling me about it. Like the first thing on my mind, and maybe it's just because I've been extra agitated lately, is, oh man, the first thing that popped in my head honestly was like slap him. And I don't know why, because I don't think I would do that, but it just in my head I could see myself slapping somebody.
that's a proper fight starter for I keep on saying our lineage, but what the heck? It's our lineage. This slapping somebody is a very non 2023 man thing to do, I guess. But the idea is you're not going to let a dude slap you and then not fight them. And so punching a guy is one thing, but just open hand slapping them is kind of saying, I don't care about one word you're saying, and I'm going to shut your mouth with my hand right now. And it's ultimately a disrespectful thing, but they received that disrespect because they delivered something that was extremely disrespectful, like Hugo Duarte on the beaches of Brazil. Hickson slapped him in the face, but he deserved it. He had it coming. Hickson thought that he would slap Hugo and that Hugo would run. Um, have you heard about that whole story?
I have not. What happened?
Well, I've heard it from the perspective of people that were there, and heard it in, one-on-one conversations with folks that were there. Well, at least one person that was there. That the person filming, first of all, was a 12 or 13-year-old Hyan Gracie, which is interesting, right? He's sitting on the shoulders of, I can't remember who he's sitting on the shoulders of, but the professor, I guess at the time he was a professor, told me, not Professor Scott. This is I don't want to get into who, but this person has a couple of brothers that are masters of Jiu Jitsu that are, on the fringes of the Gracie family, and their name is Machado. So anyway, I was told that Hyan was on the shoulders of somebody, and the plan was to link arms and make a circle around the guys so that nobody could interfere in the fight. And nobody was to do anything, just let the fight go. But if somebody did interfere, to deal with that person. So, and this is kind of, we continue this. We talked about it the other day. We continue this to today, that if a fair fight is going, if I'm in a fair fight, for example, and get my butt kicked, then your job is to let me get my butt kicked until something completely unfair happens. Like maybe another dude pulls a knife and tries to get into the fight. Yeah, all bets are off at that point. We're in a melee pretty much. But if I'm just getting my butt kicked, then you let me get my butt kicked and we can learn some major lessons. And that was the plan there that day, to let the fight continue. And they did. And Hickson whooped him up pretty good. Evidently, well, not evidently, it happened. Hugo came to Hickson's academy the next day, maybe, or 2 or 3 days later. It was pretty soon after. But he had some dudes with him that were not like MMA guys. They were what do you call those guys? Lucha Libre. Yeah, Lucha Libre. And so there was a rivalry at the time between Jiu Jitsu and Lucha Libre. But Hugo came with a bunch of guys with like guns and just total like thugs. And Hickson was there with Eliu. So they met him at the door and said, "Hey, you came here with a bunch of guys that have zero honor, have no respect for a fair fight. And if you came to fight, we can have a fair fight. But if you came for, violence, then I'm going to you're going to wake up in the ditch. Pretty much, you're going to wake up in the ditch." And Hugo was like, "No, I came for a fair fight." But this time Hickson didn't take on the beach, he took a little bit of time with him. This time he just bashed his head in, really. They were on the concrete, and from the recollections that I've been told, that Hickson whooped him up really good, and Hugo gave up like within 30 seconds or something like that. So, and then somebody showed up. One of a cop showed up with a machine gun and shot the roof of the academy. So it's just an interesting end to the story. But needless to say, the point being, there's a time to slap, and there's nothing wrong with that. We're taught how to slap properly. It's good, right? It's a heck of a good slap.
I know, I agree.
Yeah, it's a good slap. But I want people to not take any of this the wrong way. That we believe in respect and treating parents with complete respect. The only reason that I say that about this guy is that he entered the mat and went about that like that, just completely crazy. Never seen anything like that before. And he's really lucky that something didn't happen like we're talking about here. But it did. And either way, if you're a parent listening to us, please don't yell at your kids from the sidelines. You don't have to say anything, really. That's why a lot of times we like to have a room kind of separated where we can, have the parents to watch, but play absolutely zero role. Because we really need to have a real specific vibe and a culture where we are looked at and not the parent. And if the parent is visible, then a lot of times the kid wants to constantly look for approval from their parent and look for advice. And sometimes they get it, and it's never going to help. It's never going to be a good thing. If you're a parent, let the dudes that are teaching teach. And no matter what you think, they will take care of the situation. If you think your kid's acting up or whatever, we know it. We
Yeah.
see it. You can be sure of it. We already know what's going on.
Plus, we know what to tell them. I remember, so this is one of my first time cornering. So the main thing about cornering is I don't want to like say something ridiculous or maybe not say the wrong thing. I don't want to give bad advice to the students in the middle of the roll. It's important. I want them focusing on their game, and
Yeah.
if I can tell them something helpful, great.
One of the students' parents is on the sidelines, and his son is in a match.
And he's going against like a really good kid. His coach, who's his dad, looks like a Brazilian. Like the kid is good. And out of nowhere, like he's totally out of position. I want to say like he is. I want to say he's in. He's either on the bottom or he's in. He's either in. He's either mounted or he's in this kid's guard, and then
This parent
just starts yelling, "Armbar, armbar! Get him an armbar!"
Oh yeah.
It,
God.
it was so embarrassing, and the coach is looking over like, what the hell are you talking about?
Yeah. Like, is this guy is he a coach?
Exactly, because he's there at the in the coaching spot next to me, and Jerry had to say something to him after that. Jerry was like, "Hey," like Jerry would I get Jerry's embarrassed. I was embarrassed. Like he was like, "Hey, you can't be. You can go over there and watch, but don't coach.
Yeah. You don't know any. I mean,
You don't know
no matter
enough. He doesn't know enough at that point."
no matter how, if you could sit as a parent, you can sit there for 20 years watching your kid in class, and you can know everything that you know that you see them in class every single day. If you don't get out there and do it yourself, you don't really know what you're talking about. So don't get involved. Just let the dudes that are instructors that are there to coach or whatever, let them do it, because you're not going to help anybody. In fact, you're really going to get them in a pickle. You're going to put them in a way worse situation that we then try to have to get them out of. So yeah, man, that's a good. Absolutely. If your kid's in a tournament, don't say a word. Don't say one word. You won't help in any way unless you're like a jiu-jitsu student. But even in that case, you really don't need to get involved, because they have coaches. Unless you're there to coach them, there's somebody there in their corner that already knows what the heck they're talking about.
Well, it reminds me of Allison being in soccer. Like I don't know anything about soccer. Like my job is literally just to be a cheerleader. Like, hey, you did
Yeah,
awesome. You did fantastic. You were getting better and better. Every single game, high fives. And then the coach can say, "Hey, do this, work on this." So he
yeah,
does all that. I'm just there to be a cheerleader.
yeah. Exactly. That's the point right there. Is that we can see people kicking around a soccer ball and kind of know the rules a little bit, but you and I don't play soccer, so we really don't know. And for us to say, yeah, you run, dude, kick it or whatever, I don't even know what to say. So if I start yelling stuff, we're in a bad spot if we're in a soccer game and I start telling you what to do, because I don't have a clue, not one clue. And that's what we're saying about jiu-jitsu. You don't have a clue unless you're one of the coaches or you're a student yourself. No matter how much you believe you know, you don't. And I feel like I'm being rude again. Am I?
So rude, man. You are the rudest coach I've ever met. Except for myself. I'm probably the rudest.
In reality, of course, we are so hyper focused on being respectful and kind and teaching the kids in the best way and correcting mistakes the proper way. So it's that's why I'm curious if I'm if I'm being rude because I'm so hyper focused on doing everything the right way on the mat.
Well, I mean, I'm kind of torn in two different directions because jiu-jitsu is totally for everyone. And there's a way to do jiu-jitsu with every person. But on the other hand, jiu-jitsu is, there's a realness to it. There's a reality of it. There's a toughness to it that can't be ignored or disrespected. So there's two different parts of jiu-jitsu.
Okay. Yes, I agree with that. But continue. What dig into that a little bit deeper.
Well, I mean, just for myself, like I want it to be difficult, and it should be difficult for me. Like once you get the fundamentals down, like it should become harder. It should be challenging. You should get some bumps and bruises. Like it should be difficult. But if you're a beginner, and you're learning the fundamentals, and you're, 6, like you should not be, beat up like that, like a grown man would be. Like there's advanced classes and there's beginner classes.
Man, yes. And this kind of goes full circle. That to get back into the dealings with new students, and that we can hit on that for a few minutes, and then perhaps we'll call it a night. When new folks show up at the academy, they are either completely terrified or they are super pumped up. And I can remember so many people. Like I remember one in particular, and I'm sure that I told you about. This guy was like, he was like, I'm so excited to start this jiu-jitsu journey. He was in one single class and never showed back up. But that's why is that the intensity was too much to deal with, especially for your first class. If you're rolling in your first class, the people there, their number one job, unless they know better. I mean, and really, it's hard to fault folks for going hard and wanting to win. Now, you and I have different opinions because I don't care. I will put myself, and I will put myself in the most wildly dangerous positions intentionally, and you will too. And it doesn't matter if I tap, and I will not tell you if you genuinely caught me or if you didn't, because I want there to be some like excitement and some, I want you to, not you specifically, but the the people to feel like this is a give and take, that I have some hope, that this is something that I can do. I'm enjoying this, that I'm getting better for sure, that it's just positives, nothing but positives. Even if you get tapped from time to time, that you're so excited for jiu-jitsu that there's no way that you're going to quit. But the trouble is that it's not just us. You know what I mean? There's like 20 other people that are ready to cook your freaking goose.
Yep.
And you're going to get it pretty much, especially if you try. What a crazy statement. But if you try, the harder you try, the harder they're going to freaking smash you. So, unless the person is just a chilled out, I mean, the higher their belt, well, I was going to say the higher their belt, the more they're going to do this kind of method. That is not the case.
Yeah.
It's
That's very rare, I would say.
it's extremely rare. Have you ever, I mean, I don't want you to say these names, but the people that have rolled with you, like me, how many can you count in your mind? That they can really chop it up. They can go hard, but they, kind of flow around, and we play jiu-jitsu. You know what I mean? That the most important thing is not winning. The most important thing isn't tapping each other. the most important thing is to enjoy our time on the mat and to feel like we are both benefiting. How many people would you say that that's the
Basically all the instructors, like all throughout the years, like different instructors at Rockwall
Mhm.
and Jerry, of course.
Yes. So you unless you are you don't know. That's the problem, is when you first come in the door, you don't know who is who. I mean, you know who the person leading the class is, and that's potentially going to be your safest role.
They'll let you work. Like
They'll let,
you and the instructors will let you work. Everybody else tries to kill you.
that's a fact. And you want to win. You want to do your best. You want to show the people that, like, I came to roll, or what. It's a tough situation to be in. I would recommend that you not roll at all for your first 6 months, really. But that's a hard thing to do if you came to. A lot of people came to roll.
Well, everybody could roll with Jerry. Like everybody could roll with him. Like he could roll with you and not injure you.
Yeah,
And
100.
let you get to certain positions, you know.
Absolutely. And I have a video on my channel that demonstrates how to do this. If there's anybody out there that's a advanced person and wants you know how to smash people, but do you know how to really let them work, and to give and take, and to go back and forth without causing them, like, to hate jiu-jitsu? Pretty much, it's a different game. Like, it's a different thing. So that's something that has to be practiced too. But yeah, your instructors are definitely capable of doing that. I don't know where not you. I don't know where the people that are listening are training. But if you want the best experience, go to some place that's connected with Gracie Jiu Jitsu. I can't vouch for everybody, because some places might say they are, and they have really no connection. But your best bet is going to be a place like that.
You know, it would be
Um,
a fun video series is if we went like to a bunch of major cities and we found and like rated these gyms based on if somebody's like connected to Gracie Jiu-Jitsu or if they claim to teach Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, like go and like find out for ourselves and kind of rate it.
that would be awesome. Isn't there? I thought I saw something like that at some point online.
Maybe it will be like a recurring theme. Maybe we could, do videos in our area and maybe expand out from that. But it could become a video series, because I think people would be interested. Or just like going and training like every single school. Like, okay, this is a sport, jujitsu school, and just kind of like maybe a review. Like these guys, like the Travel Channel and the Food Channel, they go and they sample all this delicious food. Like, why couldn't we go and sample jujitsu and talk about it?
And that would be an awesome series. I think that the only downside would be that when we started to give opinions that the people didn't like, that they would be hesitant to have us, come over. If they're like, hey, we know we're a sport jiu-jitsu school, and we do things like this other school that we rated, low or whatever, they would be less likely to let somebody like us come in there and let people know what to look out for, what the truth is, I guess, as we see it. But man, that would be fun. That would be awesome.
I think I could be unbiased, and if it is a sport oriented school, to highlight that and rate it on a scale that's specific to competition.
100% we could. And I'll tell you why. This will be our last topic here, because some things that are inherent to sport jiu-jitsu, like bowing, when you enter the mat and leave the mat, that we've done at sport jiu-jitsu schools, enough that it's almost hard not to do that, you know. So, and I know for 100% fact that plays no role. It doesn't matter at all when it comes to traditional Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. Nobody bows. None of that stuff matters. It's a completely different situation. But I don't. It's not like that we don't do it when we're at a sport jiu-jitsu school that does. So we, you know, can be completely unbiased and be a part of that class and do everything the way that everybody else is, and give an honest opinion that isn't, you know, from a perspective of it's not Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, so it's crap. No, that we have an opinion that we believe that Gracie Jiu-Jitsu is the best, but we're not going to deny if a sport jiu-jitsu school is doing things right, you know, that they're treating their people right, they're training right, they got a good school like Octagon. Octagon's great.
Oh yeah.
So we can be absolutely fair, and you know, rest in for sure to just throw it out there, Octavio, to rest in peace, Octavio. We trained with Octavio. I trained with Octavio many times. How many times did you go over there?
Oh, it seemed like we were over there at least once a week for like a good 6 months.
Plenty, plenty. And I really like Octavio, and some, you know, just thinking about Octavio, we probably thinking some of the same things, base and balance and all that stuff, right? That we've had these back and forths with Octavio. And he really knew his stuff. And man, what a loss. What a dang loss. Octavio is a De La Hiva black belt, right?
What is it? What is his lineage? I don't want to say wrong.
I'm almost 100% sure. I'm 99.9 that it's um, I mean, I go from the beginning. Mitsuyo Maeda, Carlos Gracie, Elio Gracie, uh, Olesh Gracie, aka Holes, to De La Hiva Octavio. And Octavio passed away about 3 weeks ago, maybe.
I believe so. To the taping of this.
Yeah, as of this time, about 3 weeks ago, and not an old guy, um, comparably. You know, he's just too much jujitsu knowledge to be gone at this time, and it was fun training with him and listening to him. And that's just a huge loss, man. But they got what is the professor? Raphael Lang?
Yes.
Yeah, and he's a completely legit stud of a guy that smashed that gold medal match guy. So, man, that's just a big loss to jiu-jitsu, but Octagon lives on. So everybody that gets a chance should go over there and train, because it's still got the legit elements that Octavio left. So, yeah,
Definitely.
that's my recommendation. But anything else? Any last thoughts from you, Roger, or anything?
You know, I was just thinking about the claimed purple belt that said that he had trained up there at Octagon. Because
Yeah, that
I was expecting it to be, I was expecting him to be on that level of the Octagon purple belts that we had trained with previously. And as you both you and I know, they're really good. So I was expecting that kind of fight, and then it turned out he didn't have that skill set.
nah, yeah, that I, you know, for the people listening on the channel, Jiu Jitsu Robot channel, Roger's fight with this person, I did a narration, and it's up there now. And this guy claimed he was a purple belt. So no chance that he was a purple belt. There is some stuff in the video that makes me wonder what was going on. Like, it does look like that he tries to do an elbow escape, right? I mean, is that what happened?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't very effective, but I mean, maybe he had seen it and done it before, but maybe he's a white belt.
Right, right. So you didn't feel any real technique. I don't want to say legit technique, but you didn't feel any legit technique.
Just remembering back on it, I mean, it seemed like maybe there was something. It seemed like his ability to escape was there, so I was worried about him like getting up because I didn't want to continue it. It seemed like, but I was trying to prevent him from getting up because you saw in the scramble, I'm trying to keep him on the ground, but he would have done something if he had technique. It's kind of debatable because we both know that guys that are good with their top game and they have no bottom game.
Mm. Yeah.
So it could have been a situation like that where it's like, hey, I'm tired. I just expended a bunch of energy. I'm on the ground. This guy's heavy. And, but it just, some of the stuff was weird. Like he was bridging, but look at his hips. Like he's not doing anything with his hips. Like there's proper ways to get out of side control. And his hips
And
were dead.
yeah, it looks like he also, from the angle that the camera's at, it looked like he wanted to roll to his knees as soon as you hit the ground. Was that the case?
That's the way it looked. It seemed like he did want to escape and get out or stand up.
So either he is a sport jiu-jitsu guy that really had never tested his jiu-jitsu in a fight. If he's rolling to his knees, then that's just not a good move. It's not a good thing to do. Um, or I should say, and had not put the time in on his back on the bottom, um, defensive and tired with a bigger person. So anybody, I guess, when they're tired, getting smashed by a bigger person is not going to look great, especially if they haven't put a lot of time in from that position. And very few people do, honestly. But that's why you got to do it, because you might end up there against your will. And what are you going to do? Tap out?
I hope the big guy is nice.
You better hope that the person that you fight is Roger. And then you might get out of it without a scratch, but that's because he chose to let you out of it without a scratch.
He was one like dirty move away from like getting elbows dropped on him.
Oh yeah, I could see the potential, but he apparently didn't didn't go there, thankfully.
I thought he was gonna. We were drilling all those knife scenarios. I just kept on thinking he's gonna reach in his pocket and pull out a knife.
Which you would have dealt with. You would have been able to deal with that too.
Yeah, we're gonna go 2-on-1, and we're gonna rotate to the opposite side, so we can't use that knife.
Exactly. That literally what you just said, I had repeated in my mind right before you said it. 2-on-1, rotate. For the people that are listening, we're basically going to the side mount, and the knife becomes the most important thing. So both hands C-clamp that wrist, that knife hand, so that that it can't. One stab, one poke from a knife, and you're stabbed. You're in trouble. So if you see a knife, the punches are not the most important thing anymore. The knife is the most important thing, and your whole life is focused on where's the knife, and preventing that knife from touching your skin. Even a little touch can cut you and really mess you up. So of course you would have been able to deal with that. But this is why you need to do Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, because you might end up in a fight, and even if, who knows, if you're a purple belt in sport jiu-jitsu at a legit academy, which we don't believe he was, but even if he is, it's not enough. It's not enough. So you better train Gracie Jiu Jitsu if you plan on ever being attacked or being in a fight in your entire life. Otherwise, you're not training for the thing that you're most concerned about. And that's the main point of our whole thing, right? The whole podcast is this. So, anything else, Roger?
I was just gonna say, like, maybe they don't pull the knife out at the beginning of the fight, but once they start losing that fight, they're gonna pull that weapon out.
If they have a knife and they believe that their life is in danger or that you could hurt them, kill them, whatever, and they feel that threat, like the guy with the buzzard, anything is possible. He wanted to stab the buzzard for that exact reason.
Yep.
That the threat was there, right?
He doesn't want to get choked unconscious.
That's right. In his mind, he knew that was a legitimate threat. So that's when a knife can come out. But you're never going to train for that in a sport jiu-jitsu place. And there's nothing wrong with sport jiu-jitsu if you understand that it will benefit you to train. It will benefit you to get in good shape. It'll benefit you to know like how to take people down, and all that stuff is good. It will help. But when it comes right down to it, you're not training for a real fight. And some of the reflexes that you will build up are going to directly hurt you in a real fight. And that's some of what we might have seen in that video. But who knows? Either way, it wasn't a good strategy for the young man to use against you, or anybody bigger for that matter. But who knows? Who knows? Do Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. No matter what kind of BS you think or have been told, or it's cool to hate on the Gracies, whatever. Do it anyway, because it's gonna help you, and you really need it. So no matter how good you are, you need to do Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. That's it.
Well,
Anything else?
that's a good note to leave off on. You know what? Like, just touching in on that. Like, really, if if you're hating on the Gracies, and I mean, if you're not, honestly, if all those guys that are like talking shit on all these YouTube videos, like they're not willing to put it to the test. They're just noise, and it doesn't matter. Like they can say whatever bullshit they want to say on the internet. They're like, we really don't pay those guys any mind because they're not real.
That is exactly the point, is that it's a lot of the same kind of stuff that they say, and it usually ends with, and we can roll to sort it out. And that's just kind of the part of the absurdity of it, right? Is that the end of this is going to be a roll? I mean, our roots are fighting. What so to say to a guy that you're whatever, arguing with, I guess, or going back and forth with like that, oh yeah, we'll figure it out, let's roll. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, the guy wanted you to make weight and sign up for the what was it, the Austin Open?
My gosh. That's embarrassing. You people, you guys, y'all cut it out. If last thing for me, just go into an academy, a legit Gracie's Jiu-Jitsu academy, and say any of this stuff that you're saying, but say it to the people that are there. You're not going to do it. No matter, you don't hear about people showing up at Gracie's Jiu-Jitsu schools and talking crap, because they know, right? There's a history of Gracie's Jiu-Jitsu people kicking the shit out of people. So they know. I mean, they have a clue, because that's why they're not doing it. That's why they're talking crap on YouTube rather than talking crap in the academy to the person. So until that happens, yeah, it's noise. We enjoy, I do kind of enjoy arguing, because we're not training right now on the mats right this second. So if I'm not fighting on the mat, then I want to be fighting some way. I want to argue, or I want some kind of confrontation. I want to confront a thief. I want to do something. I want exactly what Ryan Gracie's son said. I'm only happy when I'm fighting, and boy, is that true.
Man, what a great recommendation that documentary was.
It's fantastic. Letters to My Father, YouTube. People out there need to watch it. That guy's awesome. He's gonna be a champion. Hopefully, he'll be fighting for real. Fighting. He's the type that will. He certainly is the type that will fight. So, yeah. Letters to My Father. Anything else, Roger?
No, I think that's it, man.